Welcome to Podcast for Fun. This is the show where we dive into the passion, the process, and the journeys of creative storytellers as they bring their stories to life. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we are joined by a talented comic creator friend, Ashlie Martin. Thank you for being here, Ashlie.
Thank you for having me. I love being on here.
So let's start with you telling us a little bit about yourself and your work.
I'm AshDays on all pretty much social medias. I am a comic creator from Los Angeles, California. I work full time as an accountant, but I've always done kind of comic illustrations. It's kind of like what I do moonlighting. So it's just something that I have always loved. I think, almost all comic creators have grown up with like some kind of comic. Manga was the main thing. I think when you're in middle school, gosh, I remember being in middle school and a friend of mine said, "Have you read Inuyasha?"
Mm.
And I was like, "I've never read that." And I got obsessed with all the manga. I had no idea that was a medium because, you know, when we collect books at my home, it was very just like very intentional. My mom was trying to be as intentional as possible, and she didn't understand comics, so that never was a thing. So I kind of sneaked comics inside of my house. So that's kind of how I learned and got into it. And just storytelling visually, I think, is unique in its own way. I mean, there's obviously movies, there's obviously video games are now becoming such a powerful media for storytelling, which is fantastic. I love that it has that now, that grit, that intentional quality to it now. But comics has always kind of been there almost in the background. And I think nowadays it's finally kind of getting more attention, more respect. I think people understand it and appreciate it a little bit more. And, you know, I feel blessed in this timeline where there's so much free information out now, just so you can learn, you can understand programs. There's so much accessibility. So it's just learning and telling a story, being able to connect with so many people. A community is really important for, I think, anything, but any media you're interested in, especially with comics. And, it's two times you're learning the art side of things and then you're learning the storytelling. And if you mess up one of them, you don't succeed.
Yeah. I personally think that the story is the most important thing, in my opinion.
It is. That's how I am too. I think there's a lot of the time the question, at least in the comic community, is what is more important? Is it the art or the storytelling? And I think people kind of say the art is what reels people in, but the story is what get them to stay. So
Yeah,
you really have to. It's not like you can forget about one of.
I know. But I'd rather, like for me, I'd rather read a comic that the art is like iffy, but the story's really good. Because then I'll keep reading the whole thing, right?
I remember going to a Comic Con. Oh gosh, I was like in high school, and I went to a Comic Con, and they had a whole table of here are mangas. They're $5. Just pick
Mhm.
your favorite. And there was one manga that I remember picking up and thinking, this art is kind of ugly. Like I don't know why I picked it up because I think it stood out because it was kind of ugly.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, huh, why is this considered manga? Because my 50-year-old self believed manga was like the elegant kind of penmanship of the black and white comics. So
Yeah.
I'm paging through it, trying to figure out maybe this was a mistake, maybe it's a different genre that I don't know about. And I got really into the story. Just, I remember standing there, just like, and sometimes, that happens. So that's hard. That's the hard dichotomy. You got to take a chance on kind of art that you're not used to. And I think with the day and age of really, there's just so many things, everyone's creating something, and you're just
Yeah.
inundated with things. It's really hard to take your time and take a chance on something. So I think that's almost kind of a shame. But yeah,
What story was that? I'm curious.
it's not well known. I wish I remembered the name. It was kind of like a one shot kind of thing. I I bought it and I moved so many times I think I lost it,
Do you
but I
remember the
remember the
story?
story.
Yeah.
I remember the story. The story was about a it was about a king that was not not kind. He was
Mm,
not very he was like so unliked by his people that he was being sent assassins to kill him, and our main
mm,
character was an assassin, and it
mm.
was like a love story. So our main character is going to assassinate the king, and it's like falling in love with the target kind of trope. And it
Uh-huh.
was so strange because it's especially with romance, your visuals have to be on top. Like you cannot make ugly characters in a romance. So it was very strange because I didn't pick up that it was a romance at first because of the strange art.
Mm,
And essentially, I remember it because it was actually well done in the sense that they made that trope, who what I think is kind of overdone, but they make that trope really organic,
mm,
and they did it in a way where the characters aren't doing anything contrived. They everything they have chosen, every action they do makes sense to their personalities, what they want, and what's happening around them. And that's very, very hard to do. I think in any medium, that's not just comics, getting your story to happen in a organic way is a skill that I think takes a lot of time to figure out.
Oh my God, that's like my pet peeve. You know, when I watch a movie and the character does something so out of the like so out of their character, like their personality, I'm like, oh, I forgot this is a movie. Why would you do that? You just pull me out of the story like that,
Well,
you know?
it's so fun. Romantic comedies do that a lot to me. I will watch a romantic comedy and I'll think, why did they do that? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh my God, I hate it when they have like the stupidest miscommunication under misunderstandings. I actually stop a show because of that. I can't take it. I'm like, this is no real sane person would do this. How am I supposed to like these characters when they act so stupid?
I think there was a show I used to watch called Degrassi,
Uh-huh.
and every character did something like that every episode. It was something almost insultingly dumb just to get the plot to go. And I
Uh-huh.
remember watching this thinking, are these real people? I just could not understand. I was probably watching it too young, but I
Uh-huh.
was not understanding why they were doing things because it did not make sense to me. It was inorganic. And that's funny you say that because I think a lot of more novice storytellers will make a choice because they want the ending to occur in a way.
Yeah.
So instead of kind of setting things up, I'm making it sound easy. It's like one of the hardest things to
Yeah.
do,
Yeah.
but like setting up your characters with a personality and a problem and versus a want to get there, they kind of like use their characters as vessels for choices, if that makes sense. It's more
Yeah.
like, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and you're just going to do it regardless of what everything else is going on. And we as readers, like consumers of whatever media it is, can feel it. Like, okay, writer, very good job. I saw what you did there.
Like I like it when personally, I hate spoilers. However, I feel that because all stories are already kind of made. Like you can't think of a new story. It's about the execution, right? But
A
that's when
hundred percent. Yeah.
That's when the characters like personalities shine. Because I don't know, what's a good example of characters? I think oh my God, I can only think of like two stupid characters. Like,
Do it.
Bakugo from My Hero Academia.
I love
He would
him.
he would like act differently if he was, let's say, I don't know, if he was Robin Hood, They switch places, but their personality is different, so they would go about the same different way, even if they make like similar decisions.
Exactly. The personality makes the story.
Yeah.
There's so many tropes. And to be fair, I've never taken a creative writing class. I've never done everything I know is through reading books, like reading books and YouTube University, just whatever
Same.
free media. That's the way to go. Don't pay for school if you can get it for free.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting because I've heard, there's I'm sorry, there's character driven plots and then there's
Mhm.
setting driven plots. And I've thought about that kind of back and forth. I am almost always familiar with the character-driven plot because the way I think about plots is things happen because people have made choices.
Mm.
Maybe I need to look into how setting-driven plots function because I know that's a thing. I guess I just don't understand it very much because I don't understand how a setting can drive a plot because
Uh,
then it's a character, in my opinion.
mm. I have an example of that. I think it's like, post-apocalyptic movies and stuff. That's, I think, a setting-driven plot because it's not the characters' decisions that make things interesting, it's the setting that makes the characters do interesting things.
That's interesting. I see what you mean. In my opinion, that kind of feels more like a genre. So like
Mm.
there's a genre because ultimately the story like we'll pick up post a couple I'll pick a movie because everyone I think is more familiar with that like 28 Days Later is a zombie one.
Mm.
So that's zombie apocalypse has happened. So what we're watching isn't quite the state of society as it crumbles. We come in and it's a family who is trying to survive it and their choices and how they survive it. So to me, that's still character driven because we're watching their struggles and their personalities and how they get through things. And again, this is me not understanding that second version. I
Yeah.
know it exists. I've heard it so many times it must exist. I just do not compute in here. That's something I need to study. But I think it's fascinating. I think a lot of, you know what? I kind of like I thought of a comic that I think might be a setting driven one now that I think about it more. There's a comic that is in a you would consider post apocalyptic, but it's so focused on how massive the world is and I have to look it up, but the characters are immortal through advanced technologies and how they've are augmented their bodies.
Mm.
And this character, you're just watching this character walk for pages and pages and pages and pages. And the interesting part about this comic is just the details of the background and that we're seeing all the time and how the metal of like you don't even know where they are anymore. You are assuming it's Earth, but it's so covered in industrial metal and just complexes that you're kind of like, I'm not sure he's been walking, and they tell you it's like been this many days, which equates to like 30 years or something like that.
My
It's
God.
so I would assume that maybe is a setting driven plot because he's not really making choices. He's walking through this world and we're experiencing it with him.
Mm.
So perhaps that's what that is.
Then maybe like Hayao, like Ghibli movies,
Yeah.
they feel like I feel like they feel like setting driven plots then because it's a lot of the characters just exploring their world, and it looks also beautiful and fancy. But they do have their
Yes.
own personalities, of course. But I feel like it's a lot to do with the world rather than the characters.
Yes, I think they are extremely good at creating worlds that are so fantastical while not being over the top. And I think that's very difficult to do. You can find yourself in that setting and be like, this is fine. Like this is normal.
This
Even
is
though
your
there's like there's like giant wolves after me or there's spirits everywhere. It's like I can
yeah.
see myself here.
Do you
I
watch
love that
movies
about them.
often?
You know what? I am trying to watch more movies. I think something as creators, I'd say comic creators, but I think all creators suffer from a sense of constantly working on their craft.
Yeah.
And I do not take time to sit down and watch things, even though I should. I think it's better for my creative cup to fill it and get inspiration from new things. So I am
Yeah.
trying to do that more.
Have you been watching any shows recently?
No. Would you say is there a new show that you kind of have watched and movie and something that you're into?
Right now, I'm watching this show. See, I used to not be much of a fan of like sports animes, but
Okay.
recently I started watching this basketball anime called Slam Dunk because it was on Netflix. So I was like, why not? And I was eating breakfast and I was like, maybe I should watch something instead of staring into the wall for like half an hour while I'm eating. So
I've heard of that one. I've seen little snippets of it. Yeah, it's very good.
yeah, I recommend it. I think it's like the most interesting one, at least for me. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of Haikyuu. I tried to watch it, but I got a little bit bored. But I don't feel the same way about Slam Dunk, and I'm not exactly sure why. It might be because the main character is literally insane, but you know,
That
it's
does
fun.
make them more interesting when they're
Yeah,
not chemically balanced all the way.
like everyone's like, "Oh, the main character is sane. He's special." I'm like, "Nah, he's violent." I think, he's a little suspicious. But I like that the when I watch it, I feel so motivated afterwards because they're like working so hard. I'm like, oh, I can't just like sit here and do nothing. I gotta work too. So I like watch an episode. I'm all pumped up, and then I start working.
That's fantastic. Actually, having any media do that is fantastic. Like, heck yeah to that. I know so many movies that make you feel like tired and sad after. So you're like,
Uh-huh.
oh, one that inspires you is 10 out of 10.
Grave of Fireflies is a movie that made me so depressed.
Yeah, that one is very rough. I think I've seen that once, and I think everyone should see that once.
Mhm.
But if you don't want to see it after, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to watch it a second time.
Like
It's
it leaves you a little miserable. I don't even know how to describe it. It's it's kind of
it's an
ex
absolute tragedy. It's a tragedy for sure.
it's
It hurts you
beautiful though.
inside.
If
It
anyone's
is.
watching, please watch it then.
You gotta watch 10 out of 10. Like, you have to be in a good mental space to watch that one. I will say that. Because
Hmm.
you are watching the destruction of a whole family's life. And it can very easily happen to you in different ways, not just this very horrific way, but in any way. So and it's humans. I think that's what they did really well. They didn't, going back on that first, nothing they do feels contrived, nothing they do feels for the sake of human suffering. It feels very much every choice was made. You can't blame people for doing what their choices are. Everything was made in the sense of survival.
Yeah.
So it's hard, and that's what I think stories are so important for that. I think it's
Mhm.
when you I think that's why I'm really, really against, and maybe this is a hot take, but I'm really against giving a kid an iPad and letting them watch whatever it is that YouTube garbage is going to give them. Because I've had a lot of like little kids, like I've had to watch them every so often, and their parents, I mean, their parents don't mean to, but they're cleaning the house, they're cooking, they're trying to get work done. So they're just trying to get their kid to focus on something else.
Mhm.
So what they are watching, and I've kind of glanced at whatever they're watching, it is absolute nonsense. It's
Mhm.
not, and I don't mean that it's like questionably bad media. I very much mean it is nonsense. It is just I think my niece, who is 5, was watching one of those like I think it was a Minecraft, not a Minecraft, I'm sorry. It was like a
Roblox.
Roblox. Thank you. It was Roblox. And I asked her, I was like, "Oh, what's this about?" And she's 5, so there's room for error here, but she couldn't quite express to me what was happening. And again, people can say, "Oh, well, she's 5, she doesn't know how to say anything." If I asked a 5-year-old what Snow White was about, they could tell me.
Yeah.
They could give me a very basic under it's about a pretty girl who makes friends in the forest after a mean mom, like little kid sense. She could not express to me what was going on because, to be fair, nothing is going on. It's just flashing whatever. So there's no story. It's just they're getting just the flash of colors and lights and things like that. And I think, even when I was a kid, they said don't leave your kids in front of children's like shows by themselves. You're supposed to be sitting there and communicating with them and express like that's yellow, this is a square. You're supposed to talk to them, and I think that's missing. And
Hmm.
the reason why that's important for storytelling is stories is how we communicate ethics, ideas, human relations, the human condition in general, and just like different versions of that. Like you said before, every story's always been told. It's every story that could exist has been told already.
Yeah.
So just tell it in your own ways is a way of human expression, and I think we're as children, I don't think we're showing that very well with the YouTube slop. It's very bad, and I'm very concerned about that. But that's a different take. But
Yeah.
still, like stories are important.
I think it's like it's becoming a mental epidemic, to be honest.
Yes, it is. It's becoming a mental epidemic, and I think, when I was a kid, my mom was convinced, certain like media would like make me dumb or something like that. And every parent has that. That's not doesn't make her bad. She, I think, felt that comics were one of those things. So I don't know, but she felt like that was one of those things.
Yeah.
I think comics are actually a fantastic middle ground from getting kids off picture books into like just normal textbooks
Yeah.
because it gives them more, it's like just a one more phase into from picture books to understanding like subtext of characters because most dialogue in comics are speech. Everyone's talking to each other. So it goes from text where people things are being explained to them with speech bubble to they have to understand what's going on through the speech. Then they go to the text where nothing is explained to them and they're just like given that. And I think that is underutilized. I think
I
that's very underutilized.
I remember thinking when I was in high school, like these textbooks should have pictures, 'cause I have no idea what's going on.
I loved it when they did have pictures, and there was I don't understand. I feel bad for anyone that has to make a textbook. That must be an arduous like endeavor.
Oh,
I would hate to do
God.
that.
My brain would die. Like it will melt trying to. I can't. Personally, I was never good at like writing like novels and stuff. I mean, I enjoy it, but I had a bad grade in
Oh
school.
no. Would you
But
say you like writing a lot?
I love writing. I'd say it's my biggest passion. But I think everybody has different opinions on it. I tell myself I'm a little, you have to be a little bit delusional. So I tell myself if I like it, someone else will like it. And that's how I keep going.
I think very much, very true. I think I'm not the only person that has this single experience.
Yeah.
There's no, I can have my own opinions, I can have my own personality, but that doesn't mean I'm the only person that has this experience. And if I want to write something, there's going to be one other person that probably is like, oh, this is neat. Like statistically, if we're just talking statistics, that's just how
Yeah.
it is. So
And
everyone should write their thing.
when you write a story, like when you make your webtoons, right? You are always targeting a specific niche of audiences, like all the time. Every movie is hitting a specific group of people. It's not hitting everybody, right? So
It would
it's
be
important.
bad if it hit everyone. And I think that's why current movies aren't as good as people want them to be. Because they're trying to hit as many, it's called the like the four quadrants of like audience. It's yeah, it's kind of crazy in marketing, but it's there's so movies are trying to hit four quadrants because they think that'll give as many people to go to a movie as possible. So it's like young boys and girls and older boys and girls. So it's like young boys, young girls, adults, and then elderly people. Those are the four quadrants. So if you can, I believe, I could be wrong, it's been a while, but it's roughly about that. So if your movie can hit all four, that means everyone can like is going to be more enticed to buy the ticket, to go to the movie theater, to do that. The problem, and I think, if you go on the YouTube movie review space, you're going to see people going, they didn't bother taking a chance on anything. They didn't try, they didn't go for the actual thing that they were going for because they were afraid they were going to make little kids upset. Or it's like they made this movie not kid friend, not. It's kind of weird because they're trying to abide by so many different people that it abides to no one now. And I just think that's a dangerous way to make your media.
I miss the days when I did enjoy, like my favorite genre of movies was kind of kids movies with adult themes,
Yes, that's my favorite. I
right?
love
Like,
that.
like okay, Inside Out, I think was a good example. And also there's Monster Inc. Two movies that made me cry,
I love those movies to death. They're
right?
so good.
And I
Monsters
feel like,
University was 10 out of 10 for me.
oh my God, that one made me a little like it was so realistic because, you know, the ending, spoiler alert,
Spoiler for a movie that came out
a while
like
back.
almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, if you didn't watch Monster University, pause this video and watch it right now and then come back. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna spoil now. When Mike Wazowski didn't end up becoming, a scarer, I thought that was so realistic. And you know what that reminds me of? I had a couple friends in like high school who they all like, boys want to become athletes, right?
Yeah.
And there's this saying like you gotta achieve, go for your dreams and never give up. But there's always a common sense for everything. And I feel like with athletes, for example, if you want to become a number one swimmer, right? If your friend has a physique that's more built to be a swimmer than you, no matter how hard you try, you can't beat that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
I feel like that's the stance Mike Wazowski was in because no matter how hard he tried, no matter how like knowledgeable he was just not scary enough to become a scare.
I that movie is so near and dear to my heart for so many ways because it came out during I mean, I think Pixar is brilliant because they're pretty
Yeah.
good at figuring out when at least where if we're talking about marketing, they make sure their movies come out during a specific time that their audience is. So when Monsters Inc. came out, I think I was like maybe in middle school, maybe in elementary school, like that little dichotomy. But I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
When Monsters University came out, I was in college. So
Oh, that's
both
perfect.
those movies appealed to me because they were kind of playing around with my age. I think and people have their feelings about that movie. They don't, some people say they don't like it. You're allowed to not like it. I think
Yeah.
it's a great movie. But I think my bias is because it came out during a time where I was hitting a crossroads. My degree in college isn't accounting, it's biology. My degree is biology and with a minor of fine art. And I was told, again, it's like my family dynamic. I have three sisters, so I'm one of three sisters.
Mhm.
And my mom is a very ambitious woman and she's very good at like making sure that everyone is taken care of and goes to what they need to do.
Yeah.
So she has the, oh, it didn't happen that way, but it did. She pointed to me and said doctor, pointed to my middle sister and said lawyer, and pointed to my youngest sister and said engineer. And that's what happened. My youngest sister is an engineer, my middle sister is a lawyer. I'm the only kid that did not do the doctor route. And it was because when I was doing it, I was good at it. I was getting the grades I was supposed to. I got my degree in it. I just had to go to med school.
Mhm.
But as I was doing it, I was just miserable all of the time. I was just so unhappy. I was trying to like find the joy in it, and I just could not find any joy in it. And when I watched that movie and I saw how Mike was like, I wanted it so bad and it still didn't happen. And I
Mhm.
kind of thought about it in the sense of, I want this to work so bad, but it's still not working for me. And I think I need to stop. And that's kind of how it's not just that movie, but it was a very heavy jumping off point where I thought, I can say no to this. I can do something else. I can do something that helps me, pay bills and then still work on my passions. And that's, accounting was that for me. So that's why that movie is near and dear to my heart because it very much helped me get that courage to go, it's okay if you don't do this. It's not the end of your world.
Yeah. Wow, do you feel that accounting it makes you more happier than like biology, being a doctor?
So the thing about being a doctor, people's lives are in your hands. Like everywhere you go, people they depend on you, and if your full attention isn't on there, you're going to be a bad doctor. Like
Yeah.
there's no way around that. So you're working around the clock taking care of sick people all the time, and I just saw myself in that and thinking I am going to be a bad doctor because I'm going to be distracted with the stories that I want to make up in my head, and I'm just going to be bad. I'm going to not do well. And
Mhm.
accounting is interesting because it's, your body and medicine is like what makes you, but your finances is what also keeps you alive. Your
Yeah.
fee, I can know anything about any client through looking at their finances. It's that powerful. But you don't need to know things right now. You don't need
Yeah.
to know like how much money you need from the bank. You don't know how what loan you got to get right now. So the work-life balance is much more, I think, forgiving when it comes to, there's hard times. Like I'm about to hit a tax season right now, but normally it's very much like, 9 to 5, work to what you need, and then come home and now I can work on, my passions now. So
Yeah.
I think it provides a very beneficial opportunity, and it still follows that same logic. It's still it's math based and it's law based, but
Yeah.
that's how biology is. You're following a bunch of different rules and seeing how they apply to the human body. So it works.
Would you want your comic to be your main career someday?
You know what? I've asked myself that question, and I've had a lot of people ask myself that question. I think the answer would be no. I don't think I would want that. And this is why. I know a lot of people are like, "Why? Why would you say that?" I think that when you start depending on a craft, you could love it, and you can
Yeah.
like writing, making movies, doing like YouTube if that pops off for you. It always begins in a place of passion and kind of there's no pressure to do well. There's no
Hmm.
it's this is you make whatever you want. Once you become financially dependent on that joy of creating something and it not working out is now a doom mentality. Now your art is associated with if this does not go well, I can't eat. And I
Hmm.
think I would be doing myself a huge disservice if I placed all my eggs in that basket. And I'm not saying I would never do a financial, like, gain from it in any way. It wouldn't be my main one because I think that takes away from creative freedom in a lot of ways, unfortunately.
I feel that so much right now. When you just said that, like it spoke to my heart because that's kind of like on the crossroad I am right now. Because this is my kind of okay, podcast is kind of my new project, but my main thing is making comics, and I'm kind of an influencer. It sounds so
Ooh,
so I do feel it's so different when you need to do something and you want to do something. The feeling is different. I think there's more of
yeah.
a passion with wanting to do something than needing. Like it's a bit of like a desperation I feel in need. And then the the passion gets a little stripped away. However, I really want to be a film director and I'm ambitious, so
I
I
think everyone can do that. I mean, I'm not saying like anyone can do that. I think if you put your mind to it, absolutely, you can achieve
yeah.
that. And I think that that is a perfect way to go. I think just as a additional comment,
Mhm.
I think a lot of people say, I want to make money from this for two reasons. First is I want to focus all of my efforts on this. Like I
Yeah.
want to be able to spend my 8 hours a day, whatever you want to call it, is to this, which I respect completely. I also would love to do that. All
Yeah.
my 8 hours are to my comic. However, I also think the second part of this is that people so badly want their whatever they've created to be viewed and shared and enjoyed. And
Hmm.
I think there's this confusion where the only way you can do that is if people are paying you for it, and that's not true. That's not
Yeah.
true at all. And that's the rough part. There are plenty of people who I have discovered who have had a collection of like short stories, have like little comics that they've made throughout their life and they've never like maybe they made money off of it, but their main thing wasn't this. And it's just archived and like you go, "Oh my gosh, this is like a treasure trove of things that I can enjoy now." But
Yeah.
it's not like it's a little hard to say because I don't know if we have perfect words for it. It's
Yeah.
not that it was hidden and it's not that I wasn't looking for it. There is a lot of things out there right now, but
Yeah.
just because it's not being advertised, just because it's not like in your face all the time doesn't mean people will never find it.
Hmm.
It will be found. All you can't hide good art. That's just how it is.
I feel like also with, wanting to make my comic a career, I remember discussing it with people and they would be like, "Oh, you should write like romance comedy because that's what's popular." But I think that's such a bad reason to write something just
I
because.
hate that advice. I hate that advice. It's so bad. It's because you're gonna get the YouTube slop. That's
Yeah,
what that is. Like that's why you have so many of these very bizarre, maybe some of them are good. To be fair, I haven't read all of them, but the ones I have read, sometimes I'm kind of like, what is happening here? Why is this existing in this way? And it's very much this person wants to be this is hard to say because I know it's going to hurt people's feelings and I never want to dissuade people,
yeah,
but you need to make your comic or anything, whatever media you want to do, you need to make it for you first. You
yes,
need to make it and go, yeah, I like reading that. For you first, because if you're making it for other people, they're going to let you down. People are going to let you down and you're going to feel very empty inside. And I don't want that for anybody. And I have a feeling that a lot of people that do this, it's kind of like if you have the opportunity to be self-published and if you have the opportunity to make anything you want, make what you want. Because if you want to make something else, go work for an animation studio.
hmm,
Go if you need to be told what to make. Go, people are paying for that. Go,
yeah,
and I'm saying that like there's jobs easy, but like find that community, find people that want to start a studio, find the person that has those ideas and follow that person if that's
yeah,
what you want to do. Because that's what that advice sounds like to me. It's very
hmm,
much like make this thing and you'll be famous. And that's not at all how that works because the vibes are not there. People read vibes very quick and they're not going to
yes,
feel the vibes.
they do. Oh my God. I felt that when I made a comic when I was like middle school, well, very, very old back. And I didn't enjoy writing that comic, but I literally just made it because I thought it'd be popular. And it lasted for like 3 chapters. And it was kind of popular, I guess, at the time. Like, I think because I was one of the first people who did it, but it was only 3 chapters, and I never continued it because I didn't enjoy it?
Comics are hard to make. So if you don't like making it, it's not going to last. It's done.
How do
It,
you even balance being an accountant and writing webtoons? That's crazy.
it's hard sometimes. It is hard sometimes. Like something I'm learning is when tax I mentioned this before. So I am studying to become a CPA, which means the certified public accountant. So that's a certification in the United States where you are now allowed to do finance related things. So that could be tax preparation, that could be audits, financial, anything. The lifeblood of any business that exists needs that service. So I am legally then allowed to do those things. So I am studying for that. And when I do that, I have to be careful about heavy, like busy seasons.
Hmm.
So my busy season happens from January to about mid-April. And it is like working
Yeah, it's
around
right
the
now.
clock all the time. It is right now. And
Yeah.
it gets hard. There are times where I come home and I am so tired that I'm just like I can't I want to so bad, but I can't work on the comic.
Mhm.
There are times where I actually draw my thumbnails and my like my sketches on the back of scratch paper when I have my 30-minute break at work.
Oh
That's
my
when
God.
I'm finding time anywhere, any place, because that's all I have at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, and then the weekends are very valuable because that's when I can dish out like all the rest of the panels. So it does become hard, but I think you have to plan for it. You have to understand, okay, this is the amount of hours I have in a day, and how can I, apply this to comic making?
Yeah.
It's hard. And I'm sure that's not just me. I'm sure anyone that has a job, a full-time job that they have to juggle, that's always the hard part. It's
Yeah.
it's very difficult. And I think people just know that if you've made a single page of your comic, you've done more than like 70% of people. Like, I
Yeah,
think people don't get that, and that hurts my heart to know. You've already done way more than 70% of people.
I feel that 90% of people don't even write. Like there's a lot of people who talk about it more than they actually. No, that sounds so rude, but they that I
No,
don't say
yeah.
it to their face, but I just go like, "Did you do anything?" And they're like, "No, I'm still working on it." I was like, "I heard about this story 1 year ago, girl. What's making you wait?" You know?
That's interesting because there are people that I talk to that have that same thing. It's very a fear of launching, I think. It's a
Mhm.
fear of like committing to this. And I'm going to be honest, I'm both of these people. I'm this person that is like arduously working on my comic, but I'm also the person that goes, "Oh, like this comic might be fun. This comic might da da da," but I'm afraid to start because when you commit any time away from your at least whatever main thing you want to do, because a lot of time you are adhering your time to something, whether
Mhm.
it's watching TV or working on something or even work itself,
Yeah.
you don't want to take that time away to do something that you are not sure will pay off. We're actually very good at managing our time. We just are afraid to allocate it to different things, and I think
Yeah.
that's what that is. It's a fear to launch.
I remember, oh my God, I think I've said like this is my third time saying this on a podcast episode, but one of my favorite directors is James Cameron, and in an interview he said you gotta strive for greatness, not perfection, because if you strive for perfection, you can never finish anything. And
Perfection has no place in comics.
mm-mm,
No place. And I feel bad. I get it. It's people think that if your comic is quote unquote perfect, everyone will like it. And that's not true because your version of perfection is not my version of perfection. And you're just burning yourself out at that point.
personally, I think the imperfect part is kind of what makes it perfect because people aren't perfect,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Exactly. I think that's hard for me when I see people go, "Oh, it's not perfect. Oh, my art style." That's the one that kills me. When they want to make something and they're like, "Oh, my art isn't there." What do you
Mm.
mean? Have you seen like the first pages of any comic ever and compared them to the last pages? It's not the same artist. Like they're the same
They
artist, but it's not
improve.
the they improve. That's kind of the beauty of it. Just like let it happen.
Do
People
you
just kind
feel
of like get scared of that, I think.
Do you feel the comments you get like affect how you write your story?
You know what? That's a great question. Yes and no. Yes and no. And both are good.
Mm.
The no is you know what? I feel very blessed that I even have people reading it. I feel even more blessed that people are very kind in their comments. Like
Mhm.
I almost never get any kind of negative, like, and I don't mean critique. I don't get
Yeah.
like hatred in the comments. So I don't have any kind of like, write this better kind of comments. I think at the very beginning, because the Giant of Greywater is a slow burn romance story, and it's always been a slow burn, and it will just it is staying that way.
Mhm.
And once, and to be fair, I think Webtoons has kind of trained their readers to expect payoff very quickly. So when they're like, when is the giant coming? Because to be fair, I think it was like maybe 20 episodes in, and finally, like, he appeared.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the no is when somebody goes like, when are they going to get together or something. It's like it's a slow burn. I think you need to be patient or it's not for you. Like that's fine. The part where I said yes, it changed is when I originally wrote it, he wasn't supposed to appear for an additional 20 episodes. So it would have been 40 episodes of, like, in my mind, it was legitimate, like, world building, character introductions, X, Y, and Z problem
Yeah.
solving, for him to actually show up. But pacing comic wise, that's something I learned, thankfully, before I started committing to the drawing. But
Mhm.
when you write the script, when you're like reading it, you read so much faster than you make a comic.
Yeah.
So I was learning that, like, even though reading this as fast as I was like, okay, that's a good pacing. as I was reading it via comic, I was like, ooh, that's gonna
So
take really long, and I don't think that's a good pacing. So I changed the order of which things appeared, and I think it did it for the good. So I think there is a good and bad. Like you have to, people don't like this word, but you kind of do have to cherry pick
yeah.
what things people say. It is feedback nonetheless.
Do you have any inspirations for your webcomic that, kind of, because I have one.
Yes. Well, tell me about yours first.
Well, my comic is, I actually have a poster of it right there.
I
It's
was
called,
looking at it. I like it.
my dad was like, "Oh, you should put a poster of your webcomic in the back of your podcast." I'm like, "That's a good idea." So there it is. It's about this girl. So this is like the little, I guess pitch. It's about this girl. She's a cyborg, and she gets sent back in time by her mother to kill the person responsible for ending humanity. But when she makes it to the past, she can't bring herself to kill her target because she finds out that the target she has to kill is her own mother.
There
That's
we
the
go. See, that's the part of the trope that I like. I was saying earlier, like the
yeah,
assassin killing and falling in love. It's not that, it's a twist on it, and I like that.
yeah, yeah. So
Excellent.
it's kind of, I'd say my biggest inspiration is Terminator, but it's very different. It's just like there's like little parts of it. Because, for example, initially I was gonna be making it I wanted to write a time loop story. Like, oh, that time loop is so cool.
That's hard to do. Time shenanigans is very hard to do.
So, my God, so hard. And well, I can't say too much, but that's where the idea came from, and now we have that. So yeah, that's my inspiration. I'm not sure what my other inspiration though. I think a lot of my other inspiration. Oh, I also like. Have you ever watched Mob Psycho before? Mob Psycho.
Yes.
I
Yes.
really love ethical dilemma stories. It's like, oh, my tea. I love it so much. I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And it's not Inuyasha, but there's one called Inuyashiki. It's like a robot grandpa and a robot. Okay, there's a teenager and a grandpa, and they get killed by aliens. So the aliens are like, oh, we gotta replace them, and they replace them with like alien technology robots. So
Interesting. Okay. Gotcha.
and
So
then
it's like they're living the lives that weren't theirs.
yeah, yeah. So.
That's crazy. Okay.
But the robots don't realize it because they have all the memories and all the personalities of those original people they replaced. So the grandpa ends up using the his powers for good, and the teenager kind of becomes the ultimate villain. And it's like an ethical dilemma of like how, responsibility with powers. And it's like, I love it so much. I highly recommend it.
Those
It's
are so good. Ethical dilemmas are fun anywhere because no one
Mhm.
is perfectly right. And I think that's what makes a discussion interesting.
Yes, I love hard choices. That's my favorite types of movies where like you can argue with you can argue like this person's bad, this person's good, and it's hard to decide who's right. So,
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. That's the cool of it because if you have a discussion with somebody, both people can be right at the same time. And I think
exactly.
that's interesting.
Yeah. So do you have any inspirations like that for your comic?
You know what's interesting? With my comic, so this is silly, but
Mhm.
when I first thought of it, it was because I had a bad dream. I had a really scary dream, and it was because it was I this was when I was having my like, be a doctor, don't be a doctor dilemma. So I was having a lot of bad dreams, like stress bad dreams. And
Mhm.
this one was very much like in being in a metropolis, having a gigantic monster destroying things, and no matter what I did, I couldn't kill it. And I
Mhm.
got killed because I couldn't kill it. And then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, I've never seen a story where somebody attempts to like befriend the giant. Like, I think it's more of like, it's kind of the werewolf dilemma. It's like, oh, we just kill the werewolf. We don't try to cure them. So
Yes.
so I thought about it. I was like, oh, that would be kind of interesting. Maybe there's a reason that it's destroying. And then my brain was like, oh, it'd be cool if there was a romance dilemma in there because of their sizes, they can't properly hug each other. They can't properly kiss each other. So
Yes.
there's also that. like that goes into it. So for style and storytelling, I think The Rats of Nim by Don Bluth is the main like I would say kind of style inspiration. I really like Don Bluth. I like The Rats of Nim. I grew up with that movie. I don't know why I grew up with that movie, but it's like one of my favorites. I love his animation style. It's like I study it like you would not believe. It's amazing.
Wait, what's Rats of Nim about? I've never watched that movie before.
So, The Rats of Nim is a story about, so Nim, that's why the people in my comic, their world is called Nimla. And The Rats of Nim it stands for National Institute of like Human Science, or it's human something. And
Yeah.
it's basically a story about our main character is Miss Brisby, who is a little field mouse.
Uh-huh.
And because of a situation happening in their field, the farmer that they live next to is going to kill them. So she's trying to save her children,
Mm.
and the only way she can is if she asks a group of mysterious, like, rats that were kind of myth and legend. They're like, I don't know if these people are real, but I've been told that they are, so, and they're my only hope. So she
Yes.
goes to them, and we learn that they're super intelligent. They have like Atlantis levels of like the rat Atlantis is what this is. They like
Mhm.
are very intelligent. They have a society. They're very secret, and it turns out that they are so smart because they were experimented on by Nim. So they're called the Rats of Nim, and the story is helping her save her family from the farmer. And it's like so interesting because it's such a small problem, but it flowers into like her problems are their problems too in an unexpected way. And I kind of like that nobody is like perfectly right in that either. It's like, oh, okay, there's danger, people die. Like it's it's a very cool, it's a very good children's movie. And I like it a lot because in my comic, there's fractions of people. We're still at the beginnings of it, where our main character, Elena, is learning about Greywater and about the political dynamics about things. Like, why is the giant attacking and why is the royalty not doing anything about it or
Yeah.
seemingly not doing anything about it? Who are these players? Like, she's kind of like learning the game of chess, like what all the pieces are right now.
Yeah.
And as she learns, we learn. So we're getting that part down. But once we kind of get everyone's input, then we kind of see that ethical dilemma. Like, oh, nobody is correct in this, but nobody's wrong in this either. It's kind of like, who do you think is the most right? Which is a hard call. It might be someone you don't expect who the most
Mhm.
right is. So
Oh
that's
my
kind
God.
of where it goes from. And also like the romance element is she's met the giant before, but neither of them know it's the other because he's changed. He used to be human. He is a giant now. And so she doesn't recognize him at all.
Mhm.
And he doesn't recognize her for reasons that are spoily. So I won't go in. So
Darn.
I'm
Okay.
excited to get there, but it's a slow burn.
You know, that Rats of Nim does not sound like a children's movie at all, I'll be honest.
It's really interesting. I like going into like I guess 90s media because it was a 90s movie. And if
Mhm.
you look at like all those movies that came, other than Disney, Disney was very good at being careful um, with children's feelings. I think when you go to movies like that are outside that circle, you'll find that they're actually pretty dark. Like they're pretty dark. They go into things that are pretty scary for kids, and maybe you can like cherry pick like what things are good for kids and what things are not, but I think that's like John God, what is his name? I forgot his name. He's the creator of the Muppets, and
Don,
he yeah, what is Henson? Oh my gosh, I feel terrible for forgetting his
people
name.
should know. People, they can put it in
People,
the comments.
he's the creator of the Muppets, and he has
Okay.
a saying that I love to death, and I think it's true, and that's why like at least for my comic, it's aimed for young girls around like I'd say around 12. Like they're in middle school, they're kind of like learning about themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
John, he said, I don't think it's right for, I think children should experience fear to an extent. Like he's, and I forgot the actual quote, but it's a bit like, it's wrong to hide them from these things because the world is these things. So you're
Yeah.
like doing a disadvantage to them by not exposing them to this in a safe environment. So he like I would say his puppeteering other than the Muppets, but his like for other things he made the Dark Crystal, which if I saw that as a kid,
Oh
that would
my
scare the
God.
heck out of me. I would be
Yeah.
like, I don't want to watch this anymore. It's scary. And I think he's right in that. I think it's possible to overshield your kid, and then I almost think it's very unkind to kind of throw them into the world where, they can be exposed to this and not have the tools to deal with it properly.
There's some kids I feel that you can tell that they were undisciplined. There's like a lot of
Yes.
right. I'm like,
Yes.
you probably needed some spank. No, I can't say that, but like,
You probably needed to have discipline or some kind,
yeah,
like put in time out longer or something.
yeah. I'm like sometimes I look at people and I'm like, thank God my mom, made me sit in the corner when I did something bad, because I
Yeah.
would never want to grow up be. And I think I understand the parents though. They don't want their parent kids to go through bad things, but you have to go through certain things to learn from those mistakes so that you can prevent bigger things in the future, right?
I think the current state of like parenting, and I'm saying that because I'm preparing myself to be a parent. I'm like at the age where we're like, okay, where are the children coming? So I'm like over preparing. I'm reading too many books about it.
Yeah.
But one of those things is I think it's an overcorrection of how I'd say boomer parents. I'm generalizing here, but like an older generation of people were almost like cruel to their children. And it was a means of like, I'm gonna toughen them up. I'm gonna like they're gonna just I'm going to be mean to them because it's good for them because life is hard. And I understand that mentality, but like everything, there's balance. And I think a lot of people just didn't get the balance. They only got I don't have to be nice to my kids. So
Yes.
now you have a whole generation of people with those traumas, with those feelings of bitterness and resentment, and going, I am not going to do that to my kids. I'm not doing that to my kids. I'm going to be the nicest, loving parent I'll ever be. And I can see that the intentions are good, but now you've got the opposite problem. Now you've got kids that are like entitled and rude and just like they don't fear anything because there's nothing to fear. And I think there's a middle, and parenting is such a hot topic, but there's a middle. You don't have to be mean to your kids, you have to be stern with them.
Yes.
And it's hard. It's really hard. You got the mom guilt. You're like, I don't want to be mad at you.
I think you'd be a good mom, Ashley.
Oh, thank you. I
Your
hope
future
so.
is lucky. Okay, so I have a couple more questions. Um, how did you get what do you think got you so many views on your comic? I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. I'm wondering.
Um, I am
Share
going to
me
be
your secret.
so honest. I'm going to be so honest. It's luck. I know people don't like that. I know that's not helpful, but I
Yeah.
can tell you ways that increase your luck chances if that would be better to hear.
Okay.
So I was lucky in the sense that so you got to follow Webtoon's guidelines. They're like the people that are looking at they are looking. I know people feel like they're ignoring you, but they aren't. They're actually very good at like looking at everything. They're trying to find new comics. I mean, listen, when they find a comic that's good, that can make them money. They're constantly looking through it. There's just so many. So many
Yeah.
people are like submitting all the time. There's unfortunately there's like bots that are kind of flooding that every so often. So there's also
Yeah.
that they're dealing with. So it's not that they're ignoring you. It's just that you just get so many and it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
So following their guidelines to the T like increases that chance a lot. And I
Mm.
unfortunately I do see a lot of like newer I would say new like they just post like this is their first comic. they're not following those guidelines. And for webtoons, the guidelines is it has to be 3 episodes. So the logic to that is when you read one episode after the other,
Mm.
after you hit the third episode, the program is meant to notify you, hey, you've been reading this, you want to subscribe? So it's
Yeah.
supposed to like do that. So you should do that. Just 3 episodes, save up whatever you want to do. I highly recommend 3 episodes. The second thing is to make sure that your art is colored. It has
Mm-hmm.
to be colored. And I don't mean it has to be like, I am going to be honest, I think my comic is almost overly rendered. I think there's like so many lighting, so many shadows. There are plenty of comics that are just flats, and that works perfect. So I'm not
Yeah.
saying you got to go over and beyond with that, but it does need color. That's what they say on their website, like over and over and over again. So I love black and white comics, but if you do a black and white comic, they're gonna skip you. That's just people like color, and that's just how it is. So
Mm.
color is the second thing. And then the third thing is making sure that the blurb, like the little, so in webtoons you have your icon. Obviously the icon has to be nice, and I can get into that in a second.
Yeah.
But the blurb, like the little description of like what it's about, it needs to be concise. It's like the back of a book. It needs to
Yeah.
be concise. And I know people kind of go like, "Oh, I'm not going to read that." People read that. People are trying to, because that's how they figure out really quick. They don't even have to click on your first episode. They have to just go, "Oh, is this something I care about?" To be
Yeah.
fair, on the iPhone, or sorry, on mobile,
Yeah.
it is not there. They've removed
Uh-uh.
that. You have to click on it more, so it's a little harder. I have a lot of things on desktop because I'm always working on my desktop. When you go on desktop, it's
Yeah, me
there
too. Yeah.
immediately. So there's that. Your icon needs to, so this sounds a little bit strange.
Mm.
If you are making a romance comic, there needs to be 2 people in your icon. It needs to be the 2 leads, whatever you want to call them. And if it is not that, people will skip you
Yeah.
because that signals, oh, this is a romance.
Mhm.
And so you got to figure out how to show the this sounds weird to say, but the essence of your comic through that thumbnail, because that's how they're going through all the different comics, is just how can you stand out with this icon? And you can like change it and try different things. I've done that a bunch of times, like just changing it up. I recommend using like warm colors because that's what pops out. Like
Yeah.
red is the most like your eyes dart to red all the time. So if you can use like maybe almost reddish hue when you start, that might help you a little bit too. Just to stand out of like, they're seeing things in a grid format with a bunch
Mm.
of colors. So that's what I would say. Luck, and then, following their guidelines and posting on social media.
Oh
I,
my God. That one's probably number one. I like to, what works for me is when I write, make little short comics of my longer comic to like hook the people, and I make like a goofy little TikTok and be like, please read my comic, please.
please, honestly, that gets a lot of like good people going, oh, and they'll go to your comic. I recommend also being active on Reddit.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Be active on Reddit for sure. And I don't mean just like, don't be that person that says, I posted my comic and then leave.
Yeah.
Don't do that because that is not interesting to webtoons and that's not interesting to anyone on there. You have to ask a legitimate question and be honest about it. Something that shows, and put your art on there so you can show your art too. So
Yes.
something like that.
What I like to do is I like to ask goofy questions like, "Oh, what's your story about?" Or what was the hardest part of being a webtoon creator, like on the webtoon canvas, and I get engagement. I'm like, everyone.
Yes, it works. Those questions, everyone has an opinion and it's free. Like
Mm-hmm.
hardcore do that. Even on socials, it's hard on like Blue Sky, Twitter, and Insta because it is so saturated. But
Yeah.
Reddit is a little bit easier if you do it correctly. If you're
Hmm.
doing it like lazily, they're gonna know and they're not gonna care.
I tried to do lazily on r/comics, and it was like zero likes. It was so bad. But then I actually when I actually put effort and I made those short comics, some of them got like I think like 1 million views and it like bumped my comic so high and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is insane."
So
So
good.
I recommend those like comics, web comics. If you do, but there's a problem. If you post too often, you can also get like taken down. Like, oh, you're posting too often. I think it's
People don't like it so much. I'd say like once a week max.
yes,
If
yeah.
people are detecting a pattern, they're not going to be happy. I wouldn't be happy if I saw the same thing over and over and over again. It's like, okay,
So I
it's
like to
it,
post like every third day or a week. That's
yeah,
how.
yeah, for sure. That's fair. And it could be with your picture, it could be with a question, and you have to kind of jazz it up because people know when they're being sold to, and nobody likes that. It's I think that's fair. So I recommend Reddit. I'd even say like, I don't know how Blue Sky is. I'm figuring out Blue Sky a little bit.
Me too.
Twitter helped me a lot too, because I think Twitter is interesting in the sense that I could just go like reply to Webtoon's canvas and
Yeah.
they can see my name and my name of my comic that's attached to my name really quick. So that's another kind of way. I'm not sure how Blue Sky works because I think people are kind of coming out of Twitter a little bit.
Mhm.
So that's pending. I don't know how to do it that way, unfortunately.
I'm not sure why, but I think my Twitter is like has like a sensor on it, but even though I don't post anything. I don't post anything suspicious, guys. Why are you censoring me?
I've seen that and I don't understand what the settings are. I don't understand, like,
Sure.
I have a couple of people where they send me their art and it's like, oh, it's blocked because it's suspicious. It's not, and I don't know if that's my setting or like something Twitter is doing. It's very
No.
strange. I don't get it.
So I feel like that's probably the reason why I'm getting like little to nothing on Twitter, but I don't really care too much because I'm doing decent on everything else, so it doesn't affect me too much. Or I don't feel it, I guess. I still
People
post
are
it.
leaving it too. Like it's artists are leaving it too, so there's also that.
Yeah,
It's fine. You're not supposed to do well on every single one, I think is
exactly.
totally fine.
I'm doing okay on YouTube, guys. I'm gonna stick to my little influencery lifestyle. Do you have any, actually before that, where can our listeners find your work?
I think the best place is socials. Just Ash_Days_ is what I am pretty much everywhere. If you type in the Giant of Greywater, the Webtoons one just comes up immediately.
Mhm.
So that's kind of nice. So the SEO worked in my favor on that one. So you just type in the name of the comic, or you could just like type in Ash_Days_, and I think that also comes up on Google too. So that's where you can find me.
Do you have any goals or like new projects you're working on?
I am working, that's so interesting. I am actually working on a YouTube series too, but it actually isn't art related.
Ooh. Oh,
It's not
what?
art related.
What?
It's, I'm gonna be really honest. I think that I don't know, I'm very bad at editing.
Okay.
I'm not good at it at all, and it takes a lot of time. And when it comes to like making like art tutorials or like, comic, like we're talking, like maybe in the future, but I don't know if I personally have anything to add that's substantial enough, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Mhm.
So the YouTube thing that I'm working on is actually, I love scary media too. So that's kind of like hard for me because I love romance, but I also love scary media. So I have to separate things a little bit. So for YouTube, I'm working on creating a fake scary video game and talking about it like it's lost media. And I'm going to do that over and over and over again, just make different kinds of scary games and talk about it like it's lost media.
Oh
And
my God.
so that's been fun. I've been doing that.
That sounds so unique. Wait, do you have a name for it? When is it gonna come out?
My YouTube one is called Fever Dreamer. And I can always send that to you, but I am working on one where it's a point and click called Hatched, and
Uh-huh.
it's supposed to be like my goal with that is to just kind of show how games were made back then, and like enjoy different storytelling and game styles, like point and clicks, visual novels, even get into 3D a little bit. It's supposed to help me learn how to make games because I love making games,
Yeah.
but then also kind of talk about like I love what I listen to all the time is like this lost media. Like you know how they talk kind of dark. Like
Yeah.
I love that. It's very calming, even though they're talking about something scary. I
Yeah.
want to make something, but it's more of like an unfiction kind of make believe channel. So it's nothing you would actually play, but it does give you the experience of like this is a lost media kind of thing.
Oh, it's gonna be those types of videos where I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I want to play the game and I can't find it because it doesn't exist.
It might be a good jumping off point for like developers if there's an idea and we because in a way it is functions like a pitch packet for
Yeah.
like would you play this game? And if people go yes, yes, I would play this game, then you can spend resources actually making it. This is
True.
kind of like a prototype. Like, do you think this is interesting enough?
I kind of see, how a lot of webtoons lately have t turned into shows? Like
Yes, yes.
that could be like that too. I want it to happen to like YouTube as well. I feel like there's way more famous YouTubers than Hollywood stars. Does that make sense? Like, why don't they integrate them? Sometimes I feel.
It's happening. I think there's a bit of a resistance because YouTube, at least for an older generation, is seen as like a lesser form of entertainer.
Yeah.
But they're getting filtered out. Like now even famous people are going on YouTube and starting to do like people are now seeing the value in it. And I
Yeah.
will say I love that you have a YouTube video. I think it's
Thank
so good. I think it's so fantastic that you have it. I think that everyone should have one. So I love that
you.
you're working on it and you enjoy it so much.
Thank you so much. It's my passion. So, I hope I can keep it up for as long as I possibly can.
You're
That's the
doing excellently.
So, Ashley, do you have any final advice you give to the aspiring storytellers watching this right now?
I think I think everyone says this, but if you have an idea, like actively work on it and
Mm.
actively work on it to please yourself first. I think that's the main thing. Like you can't be mad that you can't feel like you've wasted time if you've created something that you enjoy. So if you're afraid of starting a project because oh no one's going to like it, if you like it then it does not matter. It does not matter what other people feel and very I have very strong feelings that if you like it, that means other people will like it too. It's a very, very rare where someone goes, I really like this, and nobody likes it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Guys, some people like those goofy abstract art. I don't like it, but there's a lot of people who like it.
There's a
So,
whole people that absolutely die for that.
exactly. Like, I don't understand why that chair is so cool. Okay, attached to a wheel. I'll never know. But
I'll
there's a
never
whole
know.
fandom. It's like $1 million, and I'll never understand it. So everyone has a niche. You
There
gotta
are
go.
too many people on this earth to not like what you've made. There are just too many
Exactly.
people.
Remember what Stanley said? If someone likes it, if you like the idea, someone else will like it. I think I
Exactly.
paraphrased it very badly, but something along those lines.
No, that works. No, that is what it is.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Podcast for Fun. Thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us and sharing your creative insights and your journey as a comic creator.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so lovely and so fun. I love
This
chatting with you. You're very, very charming and just so fun to be around. So thank you.
not as charming as you. You were
Oh,
keeping the conversation going. And
thank you.
to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, you probably did because I enjoyed it.
I
Please,
enjoyed it.
exactly. See, we both enjoyed it, so someone else has to enjoy it too. That's how the math
That's
works.
how it works.
So please don't forget to subscribe and like and share it with fellow storytelling enthusiasts. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to explore in any future episode, you can drop them in the comments or you can connect with me on any of my social medias at Podcast for Fun. Until next time, keep creating, keep dreaming, and we'll see you on the next episode of Podcast for Fun.
Bye.